The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, and welcome to the AMT webinar, Prepared for Success, Getting Ready for the Certification Exam. In this webinar for educators, AMT certification expert Christina Cormany is here to help you set up your students for success. She's going to explain the AMT certification process, and she'll also give specifics on management reports that you can use to track your students' progress towards certification. Christina's going to lead us off with some tips about maximizing the Student Edge program and test prep, and that's to help you get your students to the finish line. The running time for this webinar with Q&A is going to be about 30 minutes. At the moment, your microphone is muted. For asking questions, we encourage you to submit via the questions box that you can see on the side of your screen, and you can enter those as we go along. If you'd like to ask a verbal question, you can do that in about 20 minutes. We'll ask you if you'd like, we'll invite you to do that, and you can use the controls to raise your hand. We'll call your name and unmute you so you can speak. And here's who we are on the webinar. I'm Mary Spila, a manager with AMT. And first, we'd like to offer a word of welcome to you from our Director of Marketing and Communications, Susan Rekovic.
Thanks, Mary. As a relatively new member to the AMT Marketing and Communications team with a background in the healthcare industry, I would like to personally welcome you today and thank you all for joining our webinar. We are ready to partner with you and support you every step of the way with our fabulous concierge-style support. Our team today will offer you some great insights. So again, welcome and enjoy, and feel free to reach out to us at any time. Back to you, Mary.
Thanks, Susan. Also on the line with us today is Customer Service Representative Freddie Aviles. Freddie's going to answer your questions as they appear in the questions box. Most of your information today will come from our business development specialist dedicated to schools, Christina Cormany. Now, here's Christina.
Thanks, Mary, and hello to everyone. I have been supporting schools through the AMT certification process for years now. And one thing that every school shares is a common need to encourage their students to take the exam. So I wanted to share some positive and proven messages you can pass along to your students. Take the exam. A national certification makes it easier to get a job and could increase earning potential. According to our research, many employers won't hire without a certification. And with a professional credential, you get to add those letters after your name, like Dakota Smith, RMA. You're in a good program. Not every school has programs robust enough to qualify to offer AMT credentials. They can feel confident that they are on track to succeed. Your education and training program is comprehensive and well prepares the students to succeed on their exam. Everyone with your credential passed a rigorous test. Nobody had it easier than you, and AMT does not cut corners. All of the exam security ensures fairness. So yes, you have to take your certification exam in a secure environment. That means that nobody else is, let's say, taking shortcuts to pass the exam. And once you pass the test, you don't have to take it again as long as you keep current. Before we talk about how to apply, I want to tell you about another student benefit, our AMT Edge Student Readiness Program. I'll briefly go over what it includes, but please visit the Edge website, www.americanmedtech.org/edge for more details. The goal of the AMT Edge Student Readiness Program is to really encourage your students to get certified. And it does that by helping them get invested to see the value of certification for themselves. It also introduces them to AMT and gives them a sense of a professional career membership in a national society. It is a free program that gets them started on their certification journey and introduces them to AMT. The activities are quick and fun, and it gets them interacting. There are also incentives along the way, such as random drawings for gift cards. Everyone who completes the program gets a special EDGE completion packet in the mail. They get a little card they can pin up with the contact information for AMT, and they get some AMT logo items like a lanyard, a pen, and some stickers. The random drawing throughout the EDGE program have a nice gift card incentive that they can look forward to receiving via email. So included with the EDGE is a series of 8 emails to encourage your students along the way to sit for their certification exams. Each of the emails will include information, instructions, and activities to get your students engaged. Students can expect information on everything from learning why certification is important, how to set up an AMT account, preparing for the exam, and applying to information on AMT online communities. Once your students are ready, they can apply for their certification. Many of our schools choose to apply as a group together in class so that you can answer questions if any arise. The process of getting certified is not complicated for students. We have certified many thousands and have a streamlined process. Each applicant sets up an AMT account, and once this is done, it is their forever home with AMT. It's a portal for all of their AMT business. First, have your students create an account, visit the website, www.americanmedtech.org, click on Login, then click Create an Account. Follow the steps to create an online profile, and make sure to have your students remember their login information. They will need it to apply. Another important aspect of the application is that it is best practice for your student to connect their application to your school. Students can connect their profile to your school by clicking on the Search for School button. The reason they connect their application to the school is so that you can end up pulling them on reports to track and monitor their progress. I'll show you a list of those reports in a little bit. It's very important for instructors to provide students with their AMT organization ID number. This is important and very needed so that they can show up on your report and also ensure eligibility requirements. And the best way they can do that is selecting the campus from the list. If the student is paying individually, they will need to enter their credit card information and click Process Order on their payment screen. If the school is paying, they will click on My Organization Will Pay. They will then enter the coupon code provided by their instructor and then click Process Order. The application is now submitted to AMT. One might ask, where does the instructor get the coupon code from? So that is provided to you by AMT when you make a bulk purchase of the certification application. Also, please keep in mind that coupon codes are only valid to cover the application and exam fee and not interchangeable for any other products. Would you like to know how much remainder credit you have left on your coupon codes? I'll show you that in the report section shortly. A couple things to remember on the application is the application fee is non-refundable, and each application has a lifespan of 1 year from the date of submission. Here are the application fees for each of these certifications. The application fee includes the processing of the application, the actual exam fee, and the first year of membership dues with full member benefits. Then, to build confidence so that your students feel ready to test, here are some resources we have for students to prepare. AMT offers a practice exam and each practice exam comes with 2 full-length attempts that are timed. It is $30 for medical assisting and phlebotomy, and $40 for MT and MLT. Students will get their score immediately, and it replicates the testing environment online with a timer, and it consists of all multiple choice questions. Questions that are not answered correctly are flagged so that students immediately know what they got wrong and why. Another great resource that is actually free is the exam content outline that breaks down the entire exam content by subject area. It provides the students with a detailed list of everything that the exam will cover. This way your students know exactly what to prepare and study for. It is broken down by category, subcategory, work area, and competency as well. It also tells you how many questions are provided in the each of the categories. So it's really beneficial for them to check that out. Once the application is complete and they fulfill the eligibility criteria, they are now authorized to test. They will know that they can make their appointment to take the exam when they check their portal or when they see this email notification. They follow that bright orange link to Pearson VUE to create an account and schedule their exam. AMT uses Pearson VUE to administer all of our certification exams. Now, once your students receive their authorization notification, they will need to contact Pearson to schedule. They will need to set up a Pearson VUE account, and it will need to be separate from the AMT login information. Then your students can choose testing locations, dates, and times according to their own availability. If your school is already a Pearson VUE testing location, that is a great option for your students to test on campus rather than them having to travel to a different location. If you are not a Pearson VUE testing center but are interested in becoming one, please visit the Pearson VUE testing site to become a test center. Some important exam site procedures are each student will need to bring 2 valid forms of identification. Both of them must have a signature and at least one with a photo ID. The name and address information will need to match the authorization letter as well as their identification. Identification cards can be driver's license, state IDs, passports, even military issue ID cards for primary IDs. And secondary IDs can consist of anything that has their name and signature. All AMTs are administered through Pearson VUE. So for medical assisting and phlebotomy exams alone, an applicant can actually choose to test in-center at a Pearson VUE testing site or at another site using live remote proctoring. The details do vary per examination. So students will be given anywhere from 200 to 230 multiple choice questions, and they are given 2 to 3.5 hours to complete, again, depending on which certification. Students will be able to find out if they passed or failed at the conclusion of their exam. And there is a retesting fee, and students are allowed to take the exam up to 4 chances in a lifetime, as long as they meet current eligibility at that time. Here's some more information you can share with your students. AMT wants candidates to be prepared to do their job and to pass the exam. It's rigorous and it's fair. It is never our intention to trick your students, but rather ensure that they have the basic entry-level knowledge to perform the job. Each test question is carefully crafted to be understood in a positive and straightforward manner and is focused on real-world tasks rather than theory or academic topics. None of the questions are written to be answered as essay or fill in the blank, and they are all multiple choice questions. Typically, AMT does not include true or false questions, but please note these are general rules for questions, and occasionally one might appear, but it's our intention to keep the questions as straightforward and as clear as possible. There are no negative questions. Negative questions are those that have answers like all of the following except, or which of the following it is not. None of the answers are going to be all of the above or none of the above. Here are the annual pass rates for all of the exams AMT has to offer. The medical assisting pass rate is 77. As you can see, this is data from 2020. The 2021 pass rates are still being calculated and will be available shortly this spring. Yay, your students passed. So what exactly does that mean? Scores are usually transmitted to AMT about 24 to 48 hours after they have tested. Final documents, such as transcripts bearing a graduation date, must be sent directly to AMT by the school. Now, once transcripts are received, processing times can take about 7 to 10 business days. Then a packet will be sent out to the member. Students typically get a copy of their pass or fail letter from the testing location at the conclusion of their exam. So if they have a job that is pending, they can actually show their potential employer that they passed their exam and are just actually waiting on the membership packet. Certification is simple to maintain. It is every 3-year cycle with an annual maintenance fee. Certificates are required to document points of continuing education or other professional activities for every 3-year period. Now, our requirements are flexible. There is no requirement to buy a certain amount of CE from AMT, and most employers offer training that counts. We don't want to make you jump through extra hoops to get the credit for CE that is not through AMT. Further, our CE is very affordable, and our LMS and systems are synced with those AMT accounts I showed you earlier. So it's convenient to keep track of points, and if they are, they can keep up with their points and annual renewal fee to stay current, and they just keep seamlessly rolling along. And they do. Our retention rate of members is the same, if not better, than industry standards. And of course, there is the ethics part of being a professional and maintaining public trust. You do have to abide by the standards of practice or potentially lose your certification. And last but not least, service and support for your school. Before we dive into my personal favorite part, which is the school reports, I want to let you know that we have a video on managing reports. In fact, we actually have a whole playlist just for schools with other videos you might find helpful as well. You can find it on our YouTube page. Just search for American Medical Technologists on YouTube. There are many reports available to your school under your school portal, and I think the top 3 reports used by schools regularly are: 1, the bulk purchase summary report. For example, if you're interested in finding out how many applications you have remaining on a particular code, you would want to check out the bulk purchase summary report for that. The second report would be the applicant status. Are you curious to see if your students are authorized for the exam yet? Refer to the applicant status report for that. And third would be the missing items per applicant report. Would you like to know what's holding up a student's certification? Check out the missing items per applicant report. Now, to gain access to your reports, you must first visit the AMT website and log in to access your portal. Once you are logged in, you will be in your school portal and be able to see all of the available reports on the left-hand column under My Account Information. If you are also an AMT member yourself, please ensure that you are logging in with your school login and not your personal member login. One of the first things I want to talk about before we get into this report is the print button. It appears on the top right-hand corner where the red arrow is. Now this button will appear on the top of any report in your portal. I'll come back to this button later, but just know that you can use it to print the report as a PDF, which you can then use to send to others if you need to. Now that we've covered that, I will get into this report, which is a favorite for schools that utilize the bulk purchasing for applications. It is called the Bulk Purchases Summary Report, and it's an overview of all of the bulk purchases that you have on file with AMT. It includes invoice number, date of purchase, product description, how much the purchase was for, how much has been used, and how much is still remaining. You can also see which one of your students have applied and the date, so it is easier to track your students on any particular invoice, which, by the way, is also the coupon code you'll be providing to them. Basically, it allows you to keep track of all of your funds and students on the same convenient report. This is the practice exam results report. Now, you will only use this report if you do bulk purchases for RPT or RMA practice exams. It allows you to see your students' practice exam progress and how they fared on the practice exam for each of their attempts. It can also show you if your students are prepared enough to take the actual exam or if they need a little bit more guidance. Now, here you can see an example of a student who took the practice exam twice. The program director or instructor can see that their score improved over the 2 attempts. This report can be filtered by date as well, so that you can easily see a certain group of students. The applicant status report is an overview of all of the students AMT has on file for your school. Now, it gives you specific information pertaining to their application, such as name, AMT ID, birthday, graduation date, how they are testing, and important dates such as when they started their application, when they were authorized to test, their application expiration date, and their exam date. Now, please note that the graduation date is what they listed when they completed their application online. Students in the red box are those that have already applied. Now, you can see that one hasn't taken the exam yet, and one has and already passed. This highlighted student started the application, however, they have not yet been authorized for testing. This could mean that they are missing additional information required for authorization. The next report, Missing Items per Applicant, will show you just what they need to provide in order to be authorized. This is the Missing Items per Applicant report. As I mentioned, it allows you to see which students have submitted their application to AMT, but also have items missing from their application that may be needed before we can approve them for their exam. Most of the time, the information that is missing can be updated by the student by logging into their AMT portal. You can see an example of this highlighted in yellow. This student did not include course dates and or an expected graduation date, so they need to log in and correct that before their application can be finalized. For the first 2 students on this report shown, all of the information needed to approve them to test has been submitted. The only missing items are transcripts. However, because they can test prior to graduation while in their externship, the transcripts might not be submitted until after they take their exam. Some of the missing items should be submitted by the school. This report shows you the application expiration date. So this could allow you time to submit the documentation before that date. That way they are not running into their application expiring soon. For example, all 3 of these students need their transcripts to be sent to us once they have completed their actual program. Now, official transcripts may be submitted. However, unofficial transcripts can be accepted if it is sent directly from the school, but not the applicant. Transcripts can be sent to documents@americanmedtech.org. Now, when sending the transcripts, including a list of student names and their AMT ID number will result in quality control and quicker processing. I think that the easiest way to do that would be to include a copy of this report in your email along with the transcripts. This is where that print button I mentioned earlier comes in handy. You can print that report in a PDF and attach it to the email when you send us the transcripts. Now, this is the exam performance by certification report. This report is very valuable for schools, especially for accreditation purposes. It shows you the date the applicant took their exam, whether they passed or failed, and even the percentages they got correct in each of the sections. Knowing the percentages is helpful because you can actually pinpoint what areas your students need extra help or assistance with. And some schools even use this information to adjust their curriculum if a majority of students are scoring low in a certain section. For this report, you could filter by date as well to capture the students you need at any given time. However, it only goes back the last 5 years. The campus snapshot isn't really a report. However, it's still worth mentioning here because it can be found in the same location as all of the reports. And it does contain current information about your program, accreditation, and contacts. It shows what programs from your school are approved, course hours, externship hours, accreditation, what type of school you are, and contact information. If anything changes regarding your curriculum, accreditation, or contact info, please let us know. This is very important to ensure that your program qualifies your student to take the AMT exam. So that's an overview of all of the reports. I did share a lot of detail. Now we'll go ahead and address any questions that you may have about certification, reports, or exam prep.
Great. Thanks, Christina. This is Mary again. We're happy to answer any questions. You can put them in the question box on your screen or raise your hand and we'll unmute you and you can pose your question. Another question that came to mind that we often get, and it's one that you might be wondering about as well, and that is, do my medical assisting students or my allied health students have to complete their externship before they can take the certification exam? Freddie, would you be able to answer that one for the group?
Sure, Mary. AMT certification requirements for RMA and CMAS includes internship experience, but students have flexibility to take their certification on their own schedule when they're well prepared for success. Most schools have student tests or near at the end of the typical portion of the program before externship, some tests during or after the internship. However, there's no requirement to wait to test until internship is completed. They just need to take the test during the 1-year life application exam.
Great, thanks, Freddie. So yes, they can. There is a question in the question box that is, there's not an easy answer to it. How many questions are actually graded for the exam? How is it determined which questions are not counted? So that would be a question for one of our psychometricians who craft the exams that are used for certifications. I do know that there are occasionally, as exams are crafted, the information has to be kept current with current practices. So occasionally test questions will be in the certification exams. It's the best way to collect data. And then that information is analyzed. And it's my understanding that those test questions would not be counted against the student's score. And that is the depth of my understanding. I wouldn't want to go further than that. And then we will confirm that in an email. Everyone who's registered for this webinar will receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording. And if there's questions like this that we can't answer right away, we'll put that response in that email. So thank you for the thoughtful question. Are there other questions, Christina or Freddie, that are not verbally answered yet?
Yeah, so there is a question that says, can students take a certification online from home? Mr. John Davis, yes, students can, but only for medical assisting or phlebotomy. And students do have to pass a systems compatibility check at the time they are submitting their application online.
Great, thanks, Christina. And there's a question about who the reports are available for. Reports are available at no cost for all the schools. And the way to access to the reports is for you to have an AMT account that you have access to, and you can set that up through Account Care. You can see the Account Care email on your screen at the moment. And Christina had mentioned that your students attach themselves to your school when they are completing their application. They choose the name of your school and your campus, attach their application to your campus, and that's how they show up on your reports. Thanks for the great question. There's another question. Our school is a Pearson VUE testing site. We're making modifications. The Pearson VUE, so any questions about a Pearson VUE testing site, please would be directed to Pearson VUE. AMT is completely independent of Pearson VUE, so that exam security is the purview of Pearson VUE. So if you would please check with them with regard to the requirements and parameters for secure testing, that would be the right source.
To piggyback off of that, Mary, when your school officially becomes a Pearson VUE testing site, you will want to reach back out to our Account Care team, providing the site number to ensure that we have turned the site on to offer the AMT exams.
Great, thank you.
There is another question. We just started using AMT for the RMA, and students have been requesting transcripts from me. I have been sending unofficial transcripts, so I'm assuming that's been okay. Unofficial transcripts are accepted, so as long as they come from the school and there is a graduation date for that applicant, it will be accepted. Am I missing any?
There's a question, Christina, if a student needs to retake an exam, specifically an MLT exam, what is the waiting period before a student may retest?
I believe the waiting period is 45 days in between any of our exams to ensure the integrity and security of the exam. This means that the series changes, but many of the questions will remain the same.
Great, thank you. And that's true for all our certification exams. Yes, thank you.
There's another question from Anna Janik. Hi, Anna. It says you missed the info on the presentation. What is generally the cost for the EDGE for MA students? So the AMT EDGE Student Readiness Program is free. So it's just another reason why you should encourage your students that extra benefit.
Wonderful. So we are at time. I would encourage you, if you have other questions, to please reach out to us at accountcare@americanmedtech.org. And you can direct your students to our website or to our customer service They're also available through our website or over the phone. And don't forget to connect with us on social media. I would especially direct you to our YouTube channel. We have a channel that is specifically for educators and instructors with a series of videos that give details on management reports, on student applications, and other topics that will be valuable for you. A recording of today's webinar will be emailed within a business day or two to the email address that you registered with. As always, thank you for your support of AMT. It is a pleasure to work in partnership with you on behalf of the new allied health professionals that you're sending out into the world. And this webinar is ended.